Today on RV's Toy Box, we're going to take a look at the XYZ 9000 and some of the upgrades that I've made here over the last few months, which is why you probably haven't seen a lot of videos from me. I've been out in the workshop doing some upgrades on my wheelchair. So stay tuned today as we go through some of the different components and how you might be able to trick out your wheelchair. You know, maybe add a few things like, I don't know, bubble blower. Stay tuned.
1, 2, 3, go! Step into the magic on my fun-filled stage. RV's Toy Box is great for kids of any age. From Star Trek to A-Team and retro toys too. Come join on my journey, making videos just for you.
Welcome back to RV's Toy Box. A little impromptu, if you will, walkthrough with the XYZ 9000. Now, you can build one of these if you want to. I won't be jealous. But, you know, there might be some things in here that I mention. I am going to have a little bit of a parts list in the description below. And you want to make sure you check that out. I'm also going to put a timeline in there a little bit so you can jump into different places if you want to in the video. But this has been a culmination of almost a downsizing, if you will, because you might remember that other video where I had my big Power Wheels power chair, which developed over a long period of time. And about 4 years of, you know, experimenting, rebuilding. Did that, you know, Disney, Dollywood, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, car shows. Took different inputs that people would give me and then go home and, you know, tinker with it and try to make it happen. And where that other system had a lot of issues was just the fact that, number one, it wasn't designed for that, you know, because when you start putting toys or different things into something that's just a wooden case, and it's that big and that heavy, fatigue's going to set in. You're going to have issues with the wiring just vibrating and stuff and then creating issues. Now, I'm not an electrician or anything, but I'm pretty good at tinkering, right? And you're going to see a little bit of that in here. But, you know, I've had different, like, for example, the bubble blower. So this has a bubble blower in it. And at one time it had 2 bubble blowers. Now, that's one of the upgrades. If you saw one of the video shorts from last year's edition of the XYZ 9000, you notice that there was 2. And I've had 2 bubble blowers on my wheelchairs, my goodness, 13 years in some way, shape, or another, to where I've developed different systems for bubble blowers with autonomous systems. And the autonomous system is this refill. Okay, so this has a button over here on the side, this red button right there, which goes to a pump that I'll try to show you here in a moment, that basically refills the bubble solution from a tank inside the unit. And then you flip a switch and the bubbles come on. I think I'm active on it. Let's see here. There we go. And so it'll blow the bubbles out. There you go. And that's a lot of fun for the kids. And that's one of the very first things that I put on my wheelchair was a bubble blower. We found that going to Disney and stuff like that, kids get really cranky in line, and of course with my nerve condition, children's crying, you might as well stick an ice pick in my head. So we found, my wife's suggestion actually, with the very first modification to my wheelchair was adding bubble blowers. And that kind of kept to give the kids something to do. Then I added like a neon light tube, and then I added a couple little bitty speakers, and then it kind of just built out from there to where I eventually put big sides on it. And again, you saw the video. I mean, I just kept going and going and going on it until it became so big that it really did start becoming a little bit arduous to move it around, you know, from one place to another. Now with that, I also added these lights for the 2024 edition. I added just a little bit of extra lighting in the back, and then additionally is this little strip light back here that has, I don't know, 30 or 40 different animations that you could add to it, just to give a little visual bling to the back end of it, which honestly these sides and this back end is all that you really see. And then of course, as you probably noticed me touching on this right here, this is a remote control for it that is also wired in as well. That I actually had in a 2023 edition of the XYZ 9000. I started out with that. I also, one of the things that I tried to do, now one of the challenges that I had with the dual bubble blower systems, and always had, was to try to get them to fill up evenly. There's always just a little bit of imbalance depending on the day, to be honest. One would fill up faster when I do a little couple things, and then getting them to blow equally. So I had dial-in potentiometers on these, going from 12 volt down to 6 volt, and then making micro adjustments because each motor had its own little input. You know, when I switch them out, you almost had to dial them in so they would blow out the same speed. I decided with the 2024 edition to go ahead and go down to one bubble blower. Getting older, want to try to simplify things, which is where the XYZ 9000 actually came in, is to have something that could easily work with or without, you know, or not with or without, but the wheelchair would work with or without it. The other wheelchair, quite frankly, without the box, it was, I don't want to say useless, but everything was so interconnected, it was hard to separate the two. And we eventually didn't. We actually molded the box to the wheelchair. The XYZ 9000 allows me to, I know you can't see the wheelchair over here, I'll try to get a shot of it in a minute, but that little reset, little square on the back of the chair is where this slides in. Let me turn this around here a little bit to the back side. And then down here at the bottom is this little square. I don't know if you can see that against that black, but it is a T-bar that you can get on Amazon for like 25 bucks. You can use them for baskets or whatever you want to mount to the back of your wheelchair. Oxygen tanks, you know, whatever. And I just took it and I built it on a wooden frame. And then I used a much thicker grade of wood than the little square sticks that I've been using for years. I used kind of like a 2x1, you know, to give it a little bit more rigidity and strength. So this thing's pretty solid. I mean, when you get down to it, it's a pretty solid unit. Now let's go back to the front end for just a second for what I think a lot of people consider the main feature of this and the Power Wheels. And I have this double screened plexiglass right here. And I have these which pull out to reveal a 19-inch, or is this 21? I think it's 19-inch flat screen TV on the back. Now I actually bought this TV, oh my goodness, it's been 9 or 10 years now. And this, you know, I built the other back end of the box around it. I did the same thing with this, you know, set up the sides and the framework and everything to fit the TV. And then I have all of that run through an extra little smartphone here. These placards that I had created, these were for the sides of the Power Wheels, and they just fit fairly decent into this one. So you got like Master Tinker, or I go to Disney World, or, you know, a little car show type thing, or a little Captain America shield, and a little Air Force thing, and my little Desert Storm placard with my insignias and stuff on it, and then, you know, Disney cars. So just a little something that during the daytime when I don't want to run the TV, I got something that can just sit back there and, you know, look fairly decent when someone's looking at it, instead of this big black splotch on the back, right? So you got that right there. And that's just facilitated by a space. You know, I took some thin wood and then I, of course, wrapped it in some really nice, I think it's Avery wrap that you use for vehicles. So it really nice, that little bubble free stuff. And then put a stick here, that spaced it out enough to be able to slide those in there with no problems. So just an extra piece of plexiglass right there, so it's easy to wipe stuff off. And it protects the screen in case I got some little kid or something that goes and just starts banging on the back, which is the major obstacle I actually had with the Power Wheels wheelchair, is that the kids like to stick their fingers in the bubble blowers. I also put a backup camera on there so I could keep an eye on kids This one is so small with my little mall chair over here. It's such a tiny thing. I think I can probably just lean back and see a kid back there, so I'm not going to put a backup camera or anything like that. But let me show you a couple of things here. So again, I have the little smartphone. It comes off of a cable. And then there's a couple of apps that I have on this. One of them is called a Loop Play. And the Loop Play is kind of cool because then you can pick a particular, animation that you create or download or whatever, and then just run it on a continuous loop through the TV in an infinite format. And all I have to do is plug it into an HDMI converter cable, providing that you're using an Android or an Apple phone that has new enough software to go direct convert without any kind of adapter or anything, which both of these have that. So when I turn this on and I run it on Loop Play, HDMI cable connected, here it comes, there we go. So now it'll just sit there and loop play through that video again and again and again throughout the whole time I'm just cruising around. And I have probably 30 or 40 different loop play videos depending on where I am, what I'm doing. I can just switch out literally on the fly what video I'm playing. I even have several music videos that I could play if I wanted to. And then I have over on the left hand side of my chair basically a little cell phone holder that holds that, and I can very easily program what it is that I want to do. I have 4 speakers in the unit, 1, 2 at the top and 1, 2 pointing out towards the ground. When this is on the back of that little chair, it's about 18 inches off the ground, so there's plenty of room for the sounds to come out. I also have 2 LED 12-inch RGB strips that are on the bottom of the unit as well that make a nice ambient glow in the evening. And then I have an additional one inside. Just nobody's going to see it but me, but I built it. I should be able to have some fun with it. But just little things. Like I said, if I go down here through, I don't know, we got Cannonball Run here. And then the phone itself is hooked up through a Bluetooth head unit, so that whether I have the phone connected or not, I can still play music through the unit. I can control the volume pretty easily without it going through the HDMI cable. And it's not like super loud or anything, but it's certainly loud enough that the people right around you could certainly hear it. It's not designed to, go 200 yards down like a big car stereo or something. But I don't know if you can hear that through the mic, but it can get fairly loud. But again, I'm not looking to, upset people around me. But if I'm, one of the things that encouraged us with the TV screen is going to places like Disney World, for example, at least years ago. We had cast members, and you wait in line to see a Disney character for 2 or 3 hours, and you got little kids in there that get a little whiny and complainy. And I have several, I don't want necessarily full-length videos, but 20-30 minute clips. You flip on a Disney princess film or something, and those little kids just sit right down on the pavement behind you and watch that little video just as quiet as can be. You're welcome, right? And that's the advantages of it. I got some other really cool things on here, like there's a RPM, like engine noise and stuff that you can make on it, which is pretty cool. If I'm at a car show or something, I might do something like that. But anyway, let's roll it around. So we talked about the lights on the back, obviously the TV on the back, bubble blower on the back. I got my little chrome bar right here. These are called cover plates right here, and then at the top, let me just tip it down a little bit. I'll lay that right there. At the top up here, and I'll do some vanity shots in a little bit, but that's just the only thing up here is my little bar, a latch, a little USA plaque that is a holdover from my Power Wheels, and then 2 speakers there at the top. All right, let's spin this around here. Plexiglass cover in the back. There's a latch here at the top. Down here at the bottom is the stereo system over here, a master switch. that goes into the main feed battery right here. This battery just runs the TV. That's it. Between these two batteries, I can run the TV for about 14 hours straight. These are both lithium ion batteries. They're absolutely phenomenal. Not only just because they have a long battery life, but they are literally a third of the weight that you would normally get with wheelchair batteries this size. Now, that was something that was always a big deal on my other wheelchair. My other wheelchair, to run all of that equipment, I had 13 wheelchair batteries that I had to carry around, which added 150 pounds of weight, because the average weight of those things was 10 to 12 pounds. So I mean, it really made that thing heavy, and it just would wear down over a period of time. So these, I mean, weigh nothing. I mean, like the weight of a softball. These things just weigh nothing in comparison. I also recently, and I'm going to make a video for comparison for some of my mobility challenge friends out there, my wheelchair itself, I also put lithium ion batteries in there and shaved 60 pounds off the wheelchair. And that's a big deal when you're trying to, have a couple of people or one person, your wife maybe, unloading and loading the wheelchair in the back of the truck. That's a lot of weight to grab and put down on the ground, not just with the wheelchair, but the batteries as well. So, when you can shave weight like that, that's a big deal. So we got the two batteries down here. If you look over here on the side is the fluid pump. Now the fluid pump, I went through so many windshield washer pumps, it wasn't even funny. And the problem is because this is, basically bubble solution and not windshield washer fluid, it doesn't pump it quickly enough to prime the motor. So the motors burn out in, probably 30 or 40 uses. This one is an actual fluid pump that you would use for a high volume sprinkler system or irrigation system that runs off a 12-volt battery. Then I took these units here, and I'm going to give you a close-up of these in a minute, and there's going to be links to these, but these are step-down modules that allow you to go from 12-volt down to whatever voltage you want. And because this is responsive all the way up to 36 volts, I'm able to tune that in so when I hit the button over on the side, it refills my bubbles in the back at a very consistent range. I used to use potentiometers and have to dial that in, but it's like every time I set it up, I had to make sure that nobody bumped the switches or the dials and set it up every single time. I wanted to plug it in and go and not do anything. And that's the biggest upgrade for the 2024 version of the XYZ 9000, was the inclusion of the step modules. Now, I made a video here not too long ago on how to use one of these step down modules on a tester, right? To do something like that. Same exact one. So I got one here, one here. This one works off for the bubble blower in the back, which is a 6-volt system, so you want to be able to dial it down to 6 volts. And then this one over here, which technically is 12, but I don't want it to spray out, right? I want it to just trickle out, because I can't have that thing just spray at high volume. I have bubble solution flying everywhere. So I have this dialed down, I think, to 2.6 volts. So when the motor kicks on, it's ba-bump, 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 and it just pumps that baby full in a timely manner so it doesn't just fly the solution everywhere. Whoop, that's my little phone connected to the cable, so I'm going to unplug that for right now. All right, let's go in a little closer, and I'm going to open up this back hatch, pull this down, and let's take a little closer look at the inside. All right, some of you may be excited because you don't see my ugly face, but right here is the step down for the tank here, feeds down into the pump. And then, of course, the pump is right there. And then we've got a couple of the strips here. This unit back here is the remote control. It has 4 channels on it and allows you to kind of go through the different channels. Those weed from the negative and positive going through this strip all the way over to here to these outputs right here, and gives me plenty of room for expansion if I ever wanted to do something extra. And then you have this unit over here. Now watch what happens when I go in and hit the bubble blower. So you see that it kicks on with the switch right here. You saw the little blue light flash. And then it automatically restricts the voltage from 12 volt down to 6 and keeps that nice and dialed in. Backside of the TV right here, HDMI cable, and the dedicated power cord for this down here. Now, another thing that I did for this upgrade for the 2024 is, while I wouldn't consider these permanently mounted, this right here is an extra wire that comes off, and then the wire that's inside of here, and then the battery charger for the lithium ion batteries, I just put the female connector on the charger. So all I got to do is just unplug this, plug it into the charger, I'll wait for it to charge up, do the same thing down here, which charges this battery up right here, so I don't have to take everything apart in order to recharge the batteries, which is a huge time saver, especially when you're looking at a plug and go situation. Now, in addition to that, if we look closely, well, I mean, I got it up here too, but let's just go and click on that right there. So I added an RGB LED strip that's just inside on the inside here, right there. This is also plexiglass, so I can set some things on top of it. Again, the lights are totally for me. Nobody's going to see this because the back of the chair sits right here. But down on the bottom here is where those halo lights, or whatever you want to call them, the little ambient light that directs straight down. And then there's a remote control that goes along with it. I'm using Alexa equipped controllers. They're very, very inexpensive. I actually bought a 12 volt one specifically made for vehicles, and it crapped out on me in a couple of days. These I found to be much more stable when they're made for the house use, but they run off 12 volt just like everything else, so there's no reason that you can't. So that's pretty much on the inside. Down on the bottom is another strip like this, which connects the speakers. It connects, well, the speakers all together. You can see I have a little bit of extra padding here. And also the lights in the back go into a connector board down on the bottom. So I just bring up these quick plugs right here. So if I ever need to take this back apart, I just have to take the tank off, take the plexiglass off, unscrew the bottom piece, unplug, and then the whole piece slides down for me to go and do some, troubleshooting or whatever. That's probably the biggest scenario that you have with something like this. And let me kind of explain why.
He didn't fall? Inconceivable. You keep using the word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
When I'm out and about, I get a lot of people that ask me, would you build one of these for me? And I always tinkered around with the idea that one of these days I might be able to take something like this. As a matter of fact, for years, I don't want to say I dreamt about it, but I'd drawn up and had different things that I'd put together for this little piece right here, the little Reese hitch that's on the back of just about every small wheelchair, and even larger ones, for the basket and all that's to sit. To have a self-enclosed unit that was fully customizable. And I'm going to have another version of this that I'm going to work on for 2025 that's going to have a flux capacitor in the back of it. I'm going to have a Star Wars theme one. I'm going to have, again, the Back to the Future one. I might do one for Battlestar Galactica. Who knows? But all I need is just the framework, and then anything else above it, with almost the same kind of layout, you can just be a little creative and build something out for yourself. The problem is that I don't want to build something for somebody that's not commercially viable. And that means I can't warranty it, right? If I build something and ship it off to somebody, and some of the folks that are on here that are prop builders, you know what I'm talking about. I have been commissioned to build some different things and add electronics to toys, basically, like the new Enterprise that came out through Playmates, and Somebody commissioned me to go in there and upgrade the LEDs and make it where you can plug it into the wall. And that thing kept failing left and right. You know, the factory LEDs that came in there just wasn't designed to leave it on that long. And so it kept burning out. He kept shipping it back. I kept fixing it and sending it out. Finally, I'm like, I'm not fixing it anymore. This is a toy at the end of the day. And most of the components in here, while 90% of this is automotive grade or higher, there's still elements in here that I can't warranty, right? Even if I went in there and just super glued every contact in here, you know, vibration or whatever is going to cause problems. The TV, you know, is a very specific television that I got because of the size. If I ever had to redo this, I would have to buy the TV first and rebuild everything around it. This is an off-brand TV. It's RCA, you know, it's the bottom of the barrel. I picked this thing up for like 40 bucks. El Cheapo, right? But it's been worked fantastic for a long time. But it's one of those things to where I can't confidently build it and then hand it to somebody and then the first, you know, third time they use it, the bubble blower stops working. Or just like last week, I actually wanted to make this video last week, but the brand new controller that I put in here for the LED strip lights burned out, stopped working. And nothing in there was anything other than plug and play from the factory unit. So I didn't cut any wires, splice any wires. There was nothing wiring wise that I cracked open and did, which is another one of the things that I wanted to accomplish with the 2024 version, is everything in here is almost plug and play. Short of taking the wires and then just, you know, putting them into connectors, everything's pretty much plug and play, which makes it really easy if I ever have to replace that module. It's, you know, just literally unscrew a couple of things, unplug, plug the new unit in for $7 and I'm back in business. Same thing with the battery, same thing with that switch module right there. All of these different things are not custom as much as the other chair was, which makes this easier, but still not in an area that I'm comfortable at, just saying, well, I'm going to go and make myself a, you know, commercial viable box like this. 10 years from now, who knows? I might be in business building custom units for wheelchairs out there. Goodness knows there's a market for it. I mean, my goodness, you look at wheelchair or go-karts, not go-karts, what I'm thinking, golf carts these days out there and how tricked out those are. You know, people my age and up that are like, hey man, I want a really cool, you know, wheelchair to go, or a golf cart to go out there and go golfing with, or hanging out in the club or whatever. And something like this, you know, would probably be a lot of fun for a lot of people that, you know, would wheelchair bound or whatever, be able to enjoy and have some fun with. But in the meantime, the XYZ 9000 is just something that gives me something to tinker with, something that helps me relax as I'm going through and coming up with different stuff to do, and again trying to stabilize it. But I'm going to have a little bit of a parts list in the description below. If you need those types of batteries, or you want to get anything like these to start tricking out you know, your wheelchair, you know, drop me a line, do some comments. If you've done something like this in there in the comments down below, let me know. If this was something you thought was pretty cool, let me know, right? Mention something down in the comments. If you want to say something mean and nasty, you know what, skip my channel and go somewhere else. This is a positive channel. We like to keep things happy and joyful here. My channel's not for everybody. This is just something that I do for fun here with RB's Toy Box and all of my collections and some of the cool things that I built and have built over the years. I've built quite a few things over the years. You guys have seen my Proton Pack, and I have built foosball machines. I've built skee ball machine. I have built Plinko games. I have done custom grandfather clocks, jewelry boxes, custom music boxes. I used to do custom stereo and electronic work. I mean, my goodness, have you seen what I've done with some of my vehicles in the past? Whoo! Man, I have done some fancy electronics on those. But, you know, again, I just like to tinker. Hence the name, right? The Brewers have always been tinkerers, and all the way back when I was 6 years old and repaired my first VCR, I have been hooked ever since to be a tinker. So all of those out there that follow the channel, thank you so much for being here. I hope this video wasn't too boring for you, just showcasing the different things with the XYZ 9000. Matter of fact, let me just show you here ever so quickly. I'm going to flip the camera around here and show you. Let's bring this around and flip, try to keep us all in frame here. But if you take a look here, this is where that fits in the back right there. And then I have just some little covers on the side. This, of course, just flips up. And this is your regular every old day wheelchair, right? And there's the little thing that you put your phone in. But nothing fancy about this at all, except that I put my little Arby's toy box stickers on the side of it. And I added, those lithium ion batteries. But just something that, again, helps my quality of life, because, once I can waddle around the house here a little bit. I have that custom cane that you've seen that I get around with. I have walkers in every corner of the house. When I have an episode that comes on, I've got to get, to something pretty quickly or I'm hitting the floor. And when I go out to a theme park or even to a grocery store or whatever, I can't get to the back of the store without help. So having things like a wheelchair is a really big deal for me. But if I'm going to be stuck in one, I want to try to have some fun with it. So hence, not only Power Wheels before, but the XYZ 9000 for me today. But I hope you enjoy this video. Maybe I've done something in this video that inspires you to maybe consider doing something for your wheelchair and maybe even your walker. I mean, there's no reason. I actually have drawings that I've made. I don't know, I'm going to keep talking forever. I have drawings that I have made for everything here down to be mounted into a box on certain types of rollator walkers. So it has two clamps on the top and a latch system on the back. You just lift that thing up. It's got one lithium ion battery in it. It's got bubble blowers, lights, and ambient lights down below. It'll make your walker, man, jump out. And that's hopefully something I'm going to have done by the end of the year, because, if I'm in a situation I don't need to take my wheelchair everywhere with me, the walker is lighter weight. If I can have this smaller box that just clamps to the bottom of it, that would be cool too. So keep your eyes open for that. But in the meanwhile, stay tuned to Arby's Toy Box. Lots of cool videos still coming up. And for all of those out there that are collectors and followers of the channels, hey, we'll see you soon.
Step into the magic on my fun-filled stage. Arby's Toy Box is great for kids of any age. From Star Trek to 18 and retro toys too. Come join on my journey, making videos just for you.